Claflin Hill has been in existence for how many years?
Well, officially we incorporated as a not-for-profit, corporation in August of 1997. It started out being incorporated as a nonprofit and getting our tax exempt status so we could raise money for the summer concerts, which we had started with the park department the year before, family night, the bandstand. So we have kind of different anniversary dates, you might say.
Oh, indeed.
This is about to be the 31st season of Family Night, the bandstand. Actually, we're coming into our 30th year as an incorporated foundation. And then the symphony came to life in 2000, and we just finished our 26th season. So,
all right.
Take your pick. We can have all sorts of birthdays all the time for different reasons. I guess that's what you do.
Welcome to this week's episode of Classical Gassing. From backstage banter to big picture ideas, join music director Paul Surapine and guests as we celebrate the art, people, and passion of the Claflin Hill Symphony Orchestra.
Today, I'm here with Paul Surapine. You all know this face. Many of you recognize the voice, and you read our emails. You see us on Facebook, obviously. You're seeing this because we try to get the word out about things that are coming up. So that is just one part of what is actually involved in running and operating a nonprofit business. So, you often tell the story about being a kid in Cub Scouts.
Yep.
And
third grade. 8 years old.
I'll see if I can find a picture of you in your uniform.
There is. I have one on my desk marching in the Memorial Day Parade.
There you go.
I was the standard bearer for my den.
But Cub Scouts, Girl Scouts, none of that happens without somebody, adults, coming forward, stepping up, and being willing to do something to ensure that these programs happen. So tell that story about your dad.
I have several different stories of things that occurred in my life as a little kid, like all of us, that we didn't realize it at the time was maybe going to be a pivotal moment that kind of set your path for how you did things as you went on through life growing up and becoming an adult. And I always think back to this particular one. It was actually the year before I actually started playing clarinet, and that's a good story too. But, in third grade at our local elementary school, which was right up the street from our house, Harriet Beecher Stowe School, there was an announcement that there was going to be a organizational get-together in the all-purpose room, tomorrow night, and that they were going to form a Cub Scout pack. It was part of the baby boom 60s. This town had to build like 13 new elementary schools inside of 2 years at the time, as people like my parents all moved out from the cities into these suburban towns that had new affordable houses and started, creating big families. All the kids in the third grade, were all like, yeah, I want to be a Cub Scout. And so you've probably, having been involved in scouting with your family, and Wayne is a scout leader for many years, kind of know the drill, they go, they present what they need in order to create the organization of a troop, a pack. There's different roles to take on. Meanwhile, they take all us kids.
Yeah.
It was a nice June evening. I can remember, you know, it was like, the sun is still up at 8 o'clock in the evening. We're out on the playground. They set us up with all sorts of, you know, sack races and different, you know, almost like gym class kind of fun things on the playground for us to do. And then they bring us back in. Meanwhile, the parents have been having their informational organizational meeting, and all the kids are having cookies and milk, and we're all sweaty and had a great time. And, you know, and then the guy in charge comes over to the whole kids on one side of the room and says, "Kids, did you have a great time tonight?" "Yes." "Do you want to be a Cub Scout?" "Yes." And then they go over to the parents, and it's like, "Okay, folks, who's going to be this? Who's going to be the treasurer? Who's going to be a den mother? Who's going to be the committee chairperson of all the different committees?" And so on. And people are raising their hands. But they couldn't get a Cub Master. I mean, they went around the room. They went around the room, you know, and everybody had been up and talking and saying what a great thing, and their kid's going to be a part of this, and blah, blah, blah. And I can remember hearing the guy from the district council saying, "Well, okay, guys, you know, thanks, but we need a Cub Master. No Cub Master, no Cub Pack. Thanks for coming and visiting with us and bringing your kids tonight, but I guess, you know, if we don't have a Cub Master, we're going to close up and, you know, have a nice evening." And my dad looked over at me and raised his hand. It's like our eyes met, and he just kind of went like this, you know? Hey, you know, he signed up to be in the Air Force. You know, when he got out of high school, he signed up, and he raised his hand. And he kind of, it was a good thing for him because, you know, he kind of liked that sort of thing, you know? He took us fishing all the time. He took us camping as kids, and you know, living the dream of an American veteran, you know, working at a good job in Hartford, coming out every night, you know, up Route 91 to his new home in the suburbs. And so we had a great time. He raised his hand. He did that for about a year and a half. But the toll on him, because all the other people actually, you know, they volunteered to do this, and they always were talking about what they were going to do, but they didn't really do it. So he ended up doing it. And, you know, he almost had a nervous breakdown. I mean, he's working a full-time job and 2 part-time jobs.
Wow.
You know, that's what guys did.
Yep.
Mom stayed home and worked at the home.
Yep.
Their job was raising the kids and keeping the house. And, you know, I mean, that was a big enough job just by itself. But, you know, I mean, he eventually had to resign because he was like, you know, getting on the verge of a heart attack. But I can remember the Cub Pack meetings. I mean, he was a blast. He got up there, he led us in cheers and songs. We presented skits. You know what a Cub Pack meeting was like. And then there were displays of what we had been working on, you know, the crafts that we did in our den meetings this month.
Right.
Awards to be handed out. He'd line us up for inspection like it was the military. I mean, we were all expected to dress in our dress uniforms for the pack meeting.
Yep.
You know, your kerchief had to be just perfectly furled and knotted, and your hat on straight, and your fingernails were clean. I mean, we had inspections, and we got prizes for the den that had the best inspection. You know, and yeah, we marched in a parade. I remember practicing marching. You know, we had nice straight files and ranks, and my dad was up there at the head right next to me, leading his Cub Pack down the street for the Enfield Memorial Day Parade, counting a cadence, you know? 1, 2, 3, 4, Cub Scouts like to eat some more, or, you know, something like that. I don't know. You know, and funny because, you know, he worked at the Hartford Courant his entire life, so he knew everybody at the Courant. He actually had the staff head of photography out there in Enfield taking photographs of our Cub Pack.
Oh, cool.
In the parade, and they got published in the Hartford Courant because, you know, he knew a guy. And it was like, hey, my Cub Pack's marching in the parade, you want to take some pictures? At any rate, the whole point of that story is things happen because people raise their hands. I was at a presentation one time at Alternatives. It was sort of like a retirement award ceremony for somebody who had given their life to that organization. And I remember one of the speakers said, there's always that person that says, what if? Which is followed up with, okay, how do we do that?
Right.
And a lot of people just say, what if? And that's usually followed by, it's a shame.
Yeah.
Or isn't it too bad?
Yep.
I mean, I got people say that to me all the time. It's a shame people don't support the arts like they used to.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. And I refuse to agree with that. Even as that little kid, growing up in the elementary school and then the next year becoming a clarinet student and playing in the little town school band.
Yeah.
But I actually immediately formed my own little band of the same students, but met on a different day after school and said, I think we could play this better. Why don't we get together and we'll have our own rehearsals, and really work this stuff up. So somehow I got bit by that raise your hand thing, and also that things could always be better. We could make this even better.
Yeah.
Be a builder.
Yeah.
Don't be a commiserator that sits on a wall with other people and saying, they used to do this and it's too bad. It's just too bad.
Yeah, shaking your head.
This, it's gone to hell. It's like, no, I don't do that. I mean, it's funny to think that this has become my life, and it's, in a way, sometimes as far removed from playing music as it could be.
Yeah, it's true.
Because it's really business.
Right.
Yeah. And I had to learn all that along the way. The year we graduated from the Hart School of Music, in 1981, they announced a new music major for the following year that kids could enroll in. And I mean, you had people like myself. We were performance majors. Our major thing was to practice our instrument, and we were hoping to have a career as a performer in that instrument. So you had to be the best of the best to play and win the auditions.
Right.
Then you had music ed majors, and sometimes they had both a performance and a music ed, but they liked having the security blanket of getting certified to teach in public schools and doing that. And
the fallback career.
Yeah, kind of, but I mean, a lot of them really just love to teach.
Right. Yeah.
And that's a noble thing.
Absolutely.
So you had music ed players. And then you had music theory and composition people. I mean, well, I'm not sure they played anything at all, but they sure liked to talk about it all the time. It was
okay.
like,
we need them
so then when this new major came along, we were like, holy cow, that must be for the kids who can't even pass gym. Music management. I mean, don't we have a business school across the campus? Just go there, I mean, that's what I do now.
Yeah.
Right? That's what you got involved in doing too, alongside me. Like this is actually the business of this orchestra. Running a business, being a business, just like all the other businesses on Main Street. And, it's always difficult. It's difficult for any small business pretty much all the time, I mean, I've talked to guys that, were there at the beginning supporting Claflin Hill, or, people that were part of this whole effort at the beginning, and you'd say, it's really tough right now. I'm just worried about, getting through the next couple of weeks with this, and being able to pay the bills. And I remember one guy laughing at me one day. He said, I can remember when I was your age, I'd be up pacing my house at 2 a.m, wondering about making expenses this week or surviving. I said, you find a way. And that's what we have done.
Right.
In a sense. But another important aspect, especially like you alluded to, these podcasts,
yes,
is not just talking about the great music we play or the great people that are involved in playing it,
right,
and all the other projects that we'd love to do, if somebody would raise their hand.
yeah,
But that, I've always been very open with the orchestra as to our situation.
very transparent.
Some of them come into this, they don't realize this is just basically an infant operation in the scope of other orchestras. We're just barely a quarter century old.
That's true.
There have been other things like this in this town that didn't make it as far as 20.
That's true.
And they all went out of business.
Right.
And nobody raised their hand to save it.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So I like people to know where the bones are buried, you might say. Or,
okay.
What's the nuts and bolts of this?
Right.
Yes, it looks amazing. People come to our concerts and they leave just, in awe.
Right.
Concert after concert, whether it's in the park in the summer or whether it's at the town hall or our chamber music concerts. And we have to do that every single time.
So,
but,
if you were to create a business management course, what would be some of the key points on your syllabus? Like, break it down. What would be, how would you begin? What's the next step? What's, how would you convey that to the students and to our viewers and listeners?
Well, that's a whole curveball of a question that would require two other podcasts.
I am a professor.
Yes, I know. And I never was, and I could never do a syllabus because I do this on the fly. I don't know what I'm going to teach my students this afternoon.
Yeah.
When I go to Apple Tree Arts this afternoon. I know what they're working on.
Yeah.
And besides which, I make a practice of throwing at them at the beginning of the lesson something they weren't expecting to come in and play.
Yeah.
Keeps them off guard.
Well, that's okay.
And
that
then,
happens in a nonprofit.
And then when you go back to
well.
the things that they actually prepared, now they're more confident even. But, there's aspects of this. Creating a mission. What is it about, And this thing is about a whole lot of things that can't be fit into a one-sentence mission statement. It's about jobs for musicians. It's about education. It's about heritage. It's about maintaining the wealth of culture and education that our species has spent thousands of years, coming out of the cave in developing.
Yep.
And it's our job to take this little fragile flame and carry it forward to our kids, which, by the way, is, as you saw at the youth orchestra auditions, in progress.
Yes.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a really good thing.
So that it does continue.
Like I said the other day, I think I may actually start getting into a good mood. But, so there's that mission of what it is. And that also can be, the other part of that is it's got to be entertaining. Mm-hmm. It's got to bring people together.
Right.
It's got to be a big tent for all sorts of things, okay? It also has to run like a business. We have income streams.
Because the musicians are not volunteering their time.
Nor should they.
Nor should they.
It is a profession.
Yes.
I have more doctors in my orchestra than they have at the hospital.
Yes.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
More people in the Claflin Hill Symphony hold a doctorate degree.
In performance.
In, implying decades of training. I don't have a doctorate degree. I don't have a master's degree, but I've spent 55 years practicing the clarinet.
Yeah.
And 15 of those were under the tutelage of the world's greatest clarinet player ever. Mm-hmm. So, but musicians, in order for culture to continue, in order for heritage to continue, it's a business. Requires income, to pay for things, whether you're running an art museum or a symphony orchestra or the town library, people have to work there.
Yep.
the people aren't working at the town library as volunteers.
No, they are not.
No, they're developing programming, and they're maintaining this venue and curating it and coming up with new ideas to bring people into it.
And
It
libraries,
is a job.
Yeah, I mean, people have talked about, well, we don't need libraries anymore. We read our books on Kindle, or we listen to them on some Audible app. But I think libraries are more vibrant than ever, thanks to the staff that works there, and thanks to the funding that most towns provide. So in terms of running Claflin Hill like a business, what are like 3 key components?
Our income streams go to several main things. I mean, there's the biggest thing, and this is just the case with any nonprofit cultural organization.
Mm-hmm.
It's about donations.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's about donations.
The private
Period.
donations.
Private donations.
From people, ordinary people, from all different levels of income, all different kinds of charitable giving, whether it's annuities or whether it's just dropping off a $20 bill in the park, but it's everybody together.
So, and you have all sorts of different levels, is from each according to their, ability to support. I mean, it's kind of like the parable Jesus told about the poor beggar in the temple who gave one little copper coin at the back of the temple because that's all he had. Meanwhile, he had some big fat Pharisee up front expounding on how generous he had been to the temple and what a great guy he was, I mean, and he said that guy gave from his need, not from his surplus.
That's true.
And everybody has to make their own decision and what is your life about and what's important. Mm-hmm. But that all falls under philanthropy, and that's what communities do. That's what, some of the greatest institutions in this country came about because of the success of the rich railroad barons and the oil company guys, the steel mill owners like Andrew Carnegie, John D. Rockefeller, the railroads, all of them gave back in some way. It was incumbent on them after becoming successful to support the local community, the ballet, the symphony orchestra, museum, Guggenheim. Put his name on a whole museum, one of the greatest museums in the country.
Isabella Stewart Gardner.
Another one.
Big supporter of the Boston Symphony, which was brand new at the time, but also books and, of course, art.
And then, of course, there is the story of the Boston Symphony and Henry Higginson. Colonel Henry. Who basically started and funded it all by himself for the first 50 years. And guaranteed it. And eventually couldn't do it because he pretty much depleted his wealth in that 50-year period. But he thought that Boston should have a high-quality major symphony orchestra equal to those he enjoyed when he visited Europe on vacations. Andrew Carnegie, when he sold all of his holdings to J.P. Morgan, was at that moment the single richest human being in the history of the world.
Wow.
And he came here with a nickel in his pocket from Scotland as a boy.
Wow.
And what did he do? He gave all his money away. Well, Carnegie Hall in New York City isn't Carnegie Hall because, the deli. It wasn't named after the deli down the street. It was, and there are universities and other Carnegie Halls in other cities. There's one in Pittsburgh. Concert Hall. So, but philanthropy, giving. Corporate sponsorships, and that has been really one of our biggest challenges in the last 10 years at Claflin Hill, because when we started here, we had a really vibrant local business community, but at this point, a great many of them have been bought by actual global
Yes.
interests.
Yep. Yep.
They're not even owned in this country
No,
anymore.
and they do not know about Milford, Massachusetts.
No, in the technology world that we live in, which means that we don't have conversations with people anymore. You go online, and you have to go through some, Byzantine grant application that maybe gets looked at by somebody that doesn't know who you are anyways.
Right.
And it's very easy for them to say thank you. While we applaud all of your efforts,
Right.
there are so many people asking us, and we wish, I just like, yeah, right. I mean, if we could tell them in person about this, and if they were actually in this town.
That's what we're doing here. This is our opportunity to get the word out.
And for people to take this and share it with other people.
That's
And
right.
say, this is the dismal reality of the world we've just spent a couple decades building on the business side.
Yeah.
A global economy.
Yep.
It's not a good idea.
Yep.
Not for us.
Right.
But if you want to sit home and just watch TV and watch major network entertainments as provided, for you by them, and we think you should watch this, and you don't need to have a local culture, don't worry about it. You can watch something televised from a major city. That's good enough for you. It's not.
It is not.
What if? Why should not a world-class symphony orchestra exist in our town? I know all the same people.
Yeah.
We all went to the same schools.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most of us would rather live in a nicer area away from the, congestion and mayhem of big urban living these days. So, corporate giving. It's a challenge.
But we do have some wonderful
We have
local.
loyal ones, and they've been
Very.
there from the beginning.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yep.
I mean, we do have that, but it's half of what we once had.
Yep.
Instead of actually at this point, we should be double of what we once had. That's what we need. We don't need to be at 50% of 2015's corporate income. We need to be at 200% of that at this point.
Because expenses have gone up. You gave the musicians a raise. Well deserved.
Okay, and that brings up another point of, like this whole business conversation, and there's, we have expenses, just like any other business, electric bills, venue rental fees, music purchases, and, pretty much 80% of all the income we bring in goes to musicians.
Definitely.
That's pretty much, we
have been very careful about spending so that we do continue. For example, no longer printed program books, much to the dismay of many people, but we do think that it is, at the moment, responsible. And if anybody watching wants to fund that, we welcome it.
Yeah, I mean, the program book thing was something one of our previous and non-existent now corporate sponsors did as sort of an additional part of their sponsorship. They also picked up the tab for printing program books.
Yeah.
Now we sell program book ads. That meant immediately all the program book ad revenue that we brought in, which was usually about $10,000 at best, was put into running Claflin Hill instead of paying for a printed program book, which actually costs $15,000.
Yes.
So we're already behind $5,000.
And then people tend to
then people throw it away or
Yeah.
leave it on the seat behind them.
I do think it's responsible to have a virtual program book that has active links to all of our
It is a way
companies.
of the future.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody gets everything else on their phone, their news feeds and
That's right.
communications from family and
Yeah.
everything else.
Well, I
mean,
know for me, I can expand the print because
and you can do that.
that is an option. So we have gone on for almost 30 minutes, so maybe we should...
I am not done yet.
Right.
But, okay, so this year, obviously, coming out of the 25th anniversary season, and we had to cancel a concert, and, this has been very carefully stewarded
Yes.
in this past year. We had a great season. We brought back a concert that, instead of just saying, well, we canceled one concert on the season last year, we're never going to do that amount of concerts again. We brought it back. No, not only did we bring it back, but I needed to give the orchestra members a pay scale increase this year because they hadn't had one in 4 years. So I had to figure out how to program a season of concerts that would keep us pretty much within the same budget line number from the previous year, while still actually paying more out to the musicians. And we did that pretty well.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
We've maintained almost all our other expenses. But, and day to day, sometimes it just doesn't feel good. But I've been always thinking of the Brad Pitt movie, Moneyball.
Right.
Where it wasn't about the big stars or the big splashes, it was about statistics. And if you kind of just dissect it every day, well, this is better, this is tracking ahead, there's reasons for this or that. And so I'm confident that we're going to hit our mark for our private giving this year within the next couple of weeks.
By the way, that story is a true story, Moneyball.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah.
Well,
I want to make sure.
Well, that same concept is what enabled the Red Sox to finally win the World Series in 2004.
Right.
But it's trust all the things. Our season tickets and our ticket revenue went up exponentially this year. 60% higher for season and multi-concert ticket packages, 20% higher over the entire season. Ticket sale revenue over last year.
Yes.
That was a great thing. Donations are up. These are good signs. The youth orchestra is restarting, relaunching.
Yeah.
That is the future. And it's being done by our alumni who are now adults and teachers themselves. And we're just kind of sitting there and, coaching and saying, yeah, well, that's good. But they are running it. It is going to be their thing. And that is another revenue stream, creating a youth orchestra program that trains students who may someday, just like these alumni, become members of the Claflin Hill Symphony.
Yeah.
But, that's a positive for the future.
Yeah,
when you're looking at your income statements, it's growth, it's business. The new chamber music series in Southborough that we're initiating in this coming year, is another opportunity for reaching new audience members.
The outreach.
Which then translates into expanding your ticket sale revenue business.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Think about what actually goes on while you're at the hall. I kind of like the guy at a restaurant that sits around counting diners all night long and you're calculating, I wonder how much they're spending. You figure at least $1.25 per couple. Is this guy making his nut tonight? Can he pay all his wait staff and the food and all that? I'm always thinking like that in terms of how you keep things moving forward into the future. And also consider, all of our expenses have gone up. People, when they give, suddenly seem, and it's, hey, whatever they can give is a beautiful thing. But if you're giving to your church the same silver quarter in the collection basket today that you threw in there in 1965, well, the church is not going to be there much longer because their expenses have gone up. Donations, we have to get more people donating, and if possible, people think of increasing their donation in lines with inflation, like us.
Right.
Everybody gets a cost of living increase, and with that, we also have to, when we're trying to help our community, think in terms of that too.
Yep.
Just food for thought. We have a great summer season lined up.
We do, and I'll include the flyer, but yes, we've got lots of great dates, not only here in Milford at Milford Town Park, but throughout the region. All right. I think we should wrap it up.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
We'll talk more about it, but again, total transparency.
Exactly.
It's a good thing. It's
exactly. You want to know more? Give us a call in the office. Mornings are best. 508-478-5924. And share this with other people. Please. All right. Thanks so much.
Raise your hand.
Raise your hand.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please visit www.claflinhill.org for more information about the orchestra and our upcoming performances.